Let's call Nathan in here. Nathan. Do your pleasure, do you feel like you'll have your people chairs? Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll go and start. If you please make sure that your cell phones are silent, put them away, and put your AirPods away. Okay. And let's give our attention meeting the front of the stage.
Welcome to senior speeches for the class of 2021. We have two speakers for today, and our first speaker is Achille Braca.
If I ask each of you to define music, I'll give various answers. That's because music means something different to everyone and even holds a special place in some hearts. To me, music is communication, language, a way of learning and teaching. Being able to speak and understand multiple languages has influenced my love and understanding for music because I'm able to learn and listen to distinct sounds and genres. From a young age, I've always listened to music. My mom would take me and my siblings to church, and we'd listen to gospel music on the way, while in church, and on the way back. As I grew older, I started listening to music outside of gospel, although I still listen to church music because my mom always plays it on Sunday or any other day. I had never heard of hip hop or rap music until my sixth grade year when I had just been in America for only 2 years. Some of the first people I started listening to are Montana 300, G Herbo, and Mick Mill. To this day, these three are on my top 10 because of the knowledge and substance that their music offers to me and many others who listen to them. My favorite of the three is G Herbo or Herbert Wright. He's an inspiration not just because of his music, but because of his story and what he does for his community. Herbert grew up on the east side of Chicago on 78 and 79 Essex, an area known as Terrortown because of the violence, poverty, neglect that has haunted the neighborhoods of Chicago and worldwide. But even though Herbert came from a place full of violence where kids don't need no alarms to wake up because the sound of the drum never ceases to end, he was determined to take control of his life and better himself. Taking charge of your life is important because no one can or will ever understand or know you like you do. If you don't take charge of your life, then you will spend a lot of time living for others. You don't have to subscribe to what society or people have established as the norm. G Herbo incorporates his struggles and the struggles of many Americans in his songs, which makes him unique. Most of his songs and projects have a social and a message, a social meaning and a message. In his most recent project titled PTSD, G Herbo addresses the hardships and difficulties that countless Americans who come from places with less resources, less community centers, poor education, and violence face, and how that affects their families. This causes many people to suffer from PTSD even without knowing it. He also addresses why we shouldn't be quick to jump to conclusions about people who we perceive differently or easily judge and label them without knowing or understanding them. We are all products of our environments, and this is one thing that G. Herbo has always emphasized. One thing that stuck with me from G. Herbo is the line where he says, I used to couldn't stand the rain, now the storms keep me sane by coming me with pain. This goes back to taking charge of your life and working to better yourself. When we face adversity for the first time, we're often afraid because it's something unprecedented and causes uncertainty. But if you keep your head up and keep going, you can overcome it. The more you face hardships, the more you are able to navigate through difficult situations in life, which makes you stronger and better. Music has taught me many lessons and allowed me to broaden my horizon. Through music, I learn about different cultures and communities and what they go through. Being able to speak more than one language has allowed me to listen and engage in a variety of different music. I listen to Afro beats, which is music from African nations. I listen to hip hop. I listen to church music, and in all of them, there's always something new that I learn. Wherever I go, music follows. At school, I always have my earbuds in, listening to music whenever I can. When I'm in the car going somewhere, music is there. And when I go to sporting events with my friends, we always play different types of music. And this is our shared language and a way for us to learn and teach each other about our differences. Thank you.
Our second and final speaker of today is Anna Marotta.
Before I begin, I would like to thank my parents. Thank you for being my biggest supporters. You have always been there to listen, help, and encourage me, and for that, I'm incredibly grateful. You are the coolest and most interesting people in the world, and I am so lucky to have you. I love you. To my sister, thank you for being my ultimate reality check. I could never have gotten through high school without both your pragmatism and your optimism. You're the best sister and best friend I could have asked for, and thank you so much. Now to the speech. I've built up a reputation as a relatively organized person. I think I generally come off as someone who has systems in place to keep track of everything. In middle school, I was a student with a color coding system for all my notes, my own label maker, and enough post-it flags to last. I hate it when I don't know what my schedule holds for the day, or when things are thrown at me at the last minute, and I'm a little bit of a control freak. It may come as a surprise then that I am an extremely messy person. Writing a speech in my room, I counted 3 binders, 2 backpacks, a pair of socks, my laptop sleeve, a soccer ball, I don't play soccer, a foam roller, 2 toy lightsabers, an unopened package I received 3 weeks ago, a weighted blanket, a Jenga box, a wallet, a pair of jeans, another pair of socks, a tote bag, my discount comfy, and 2 pairs of black boots on my floor. I could go on, but for the sake of my mother's sanity, I'll leave it at that. Regardless, I think that description is enough to let you know that my room looks like a page from an high sky book. High school comes with a lot of structure. Every day is pretty much the same. Wake up, school, practice, homework, sleep, repeat. It's predictable, which is a little boring at times, but it's certainly comforting to always know what your day will hold. At the same time, though, high school can be incredibly chaotic. We've all had those days where you completely forget about a test or a quiz and are blindsided the second you walk into class. There are days where 2 commitments overlap and you try to attend both. And of course, there's the ever-pressing social anxiety of high school and the constant worry of what others are thinking. While working on this speech, I was reminded of Henry David Thoreau's Walden Pond, which we studied in junior year in American Studies with Dr. Sowell. In Walden Pond, Thoreau says that public opinion is a weak tyrant compared with our own private opinion. What a man thinks of himself, that it is which determines his fate. This quote has stuck with me since my junior year because the message is so clear and so profoundly relevant. One's perception of themselves determines the outcome of their lives. For as long as I can remember, I felt a need to live up to certain expectations that I believe people in my life held for me. Even from the age of 4 or 5, I have memories of my fear of failure, whether that be how difficult it was for me to learn how to read, or how I quit ballet because I thought I wasn't good enough or as good as my sister. I've also always felt that I needed to be something for other people. In my mind, everyone already thought I was one thing. Be that the STEM kid, the girl who runs track, or the organized student. And I felt that I needed to be that person in order to be accepted. I've run through most of my life genuinely feeling that I didn't have control over who I got to be. There wasn't any way to be determined to me because I didn't have a perception of who that me was. My venture is comforting in that sense because even though it is complete and utter chaos, it's my chaos. I have a lot of control over what I do with it. If I decide the mess is too much, I can put my clothes in my closet, take my soccer ball outside, and move my binders to my desk. By contrast, the messiness of life and human relationships is hardly so simple. Ironically, though, it has been the people I've been led throughout high school that have been my saving grace. I may not be able to control what people think of me, but I can control which people I let into my life, and I've been fortunate to let in some of the most wonderful people you can imagine. The friends I've made are the kinds of people who bring me cookies out of the blue, write notes on my whiteboard and sticky notes above my desk saying, I love you, and telling me to smile and be happy. The friends I've made are the people who see me exactly as I am, and probably without realizing it, allow me to figure out who that me is. Later in Walden Pond, Thoreau says that it is never too late to give up our prejudices. In the context of this essay, these prejudices are simply fantastical ideas we hold of who we could or should be. When it's all said and done, what matters is that we live well and we live happily, that we simply live. What other people think of us doesn't necessarily factor into that equation. To the well-organized mind, it's an afterthought, and an unnecessary one at that. I may not be able to abandon society and flee to the woods of Concord to live in a $28 cabin like Thoreau did. I may never stop wanting to control what other people think of me, but I can find meaning in my private opinion and allow that to guide me instead. In closing, here's a little piece of advice for fellow control freaks and self-conscious people in the audience. Don't be afraid to let go. Learning to relinquish control and instead focus on the things and people who make you happy will make a world of difference. Be okay with a little bit of chaos and don't take everything so seriously. We're all just floating through the same weird, unpolluted world together, and recognizing that common experience will bring you closer to who and what matters to you. Life is pretty cool. Don't lose sight of that by trying to control the uncontrollable. Trust me, I would know. Thank you.